Welcome to Hive Mind. I'm Edge, and I'm here with my co-host Speaker. How's it going, Speaker?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing all right. Hey, today we're going to talk about a topic it's been in the spotlight a lot this year, actually, and there are many moving parts and aspects to this whole thing. So it's important, though. We all need to keep an eye on it, and I'm talking about, of course, 5G. So we're going to get into 5G, what it is exactly, what are the effects on 5G on our health, this war between China and the US and our allies on 5G, and of course, all of the quote unquote conspiracy theories. So
Because there's a lot.
there are a lot. So we'll need to get into all of this and what it means to each and every person on this planet, basically. So, Speaker, let's just start with the basics. What is 5G? What are the differences between 5G and 4G? And why is there this push to roll out 5G now?
Well, okay. So in simple terms, 5G is simply the fifth generation of wireless network technology. That's it's the new future of wireless tech. We've had 3G, we've had 4G, but I was a little bit dubious about this as well. I didn't really know much about it until we started to dive in a little bit. I didn't think there was that big of a difference, but there is a huge difference between these. So we'll just use an example, simplest way possible. 3G frequencies that we've had over. That was about 5 years ago, 5 6 years ago, and we've been rolling on 4G over the last present time. So 3G frequencies can run up to 2.5 gigahertz, 2.1 gigahertz. Sorry. 4G frequencies run up to 2.5 gigahertz. So there's only 0.5 of a difference between those two. And now we get to 5G, and the leap is completely next level. 5G frequencies can go up to 95 gigahertz. That is ridiculous in the
It's
scope of
massive.
things.
Yeah.
It's massive.
We're talking about like a quantum leap here in gigahertz and also in the amount of data as far as, gigabytes versus megabytes, like the amount of data that can be
the data
transmitted.
and the data and the speed are the two things here that, well, they say that the normal everyday person is going to benefit from it. Yes, they will, but my question to that is, how much will they benefit from it? I mean, 95 gigahertz, what will it do to help the normal person? Okay, so it was going to make your YouTube incredibly fast. You have no spiraling. You'll be able to download your TV shows and all that faster, and you just have generally faster apps and downloading pages. Simple things, really. And when you look at that, you're like, why do you need that sort of speed? Right? It's just it's a little bit silly. I've got 4G now, works perfectly fine. I can bring up my stuff pretty fast.
Well, it's being
It's not
sold to the
crazy.
public as, look, you're going to have faster download times. You're going to be able to download way more data on this network and with 5G devices and so on. But I don't think that's the true intentions behind rolling out 5G. And we'll probably get into that later. But I think the true intentions behind it are a lot more complex. And
Definitely.
there's definitely some sinister aspects to this whole thing as well.
Well, like these are the two questions I had to ask myself. What does the everyday person get out of this? And then what does corporations and governments get out of this? And that's the question you've got to be asked, right? Because governments and corporations are the ones that are going to be pushing this mega, right? They have pushed it megally because look at the corporate world now. Look at factories. Look at robotics. Look at AI, artificial intelligence. Every industry, from agriculture to commerce to tech industry, is going to benefit from faster speeds. The faster their robots can take in this information, the data, the speed, the faster they can churn out products and sell it. Right?
Exactly.
That's the corporate side. Now the government side is a whole different ballgame. We're talking incredibly hacking speeds, incredible speeds to spy on individuals.
Right.
So these are big things for definitely in the government department.
Yeah. Let's take a step back for just a quick second, because to really understand 5G, you have to understand a little bit about wavelengths and frequencies. So I'm just going to give some basics on it. On the wavelengths and frequencies on the electromagnetic spectrum. So from like low frequencies to high frequencies, you have radio waves, millimeter waves, microwaves, light and visible waves, X-rays, and then it goes all the way up to gamma rays. Generally, the higher the frequency, the more damage these waves have on living things. And this 5G revolution, it's not, the same as going from 3G to 4G, which you just kind of described. I mean, that was like 1 megabyte per second, to 20 megabytes per second. But this leap to 5G is like a quantum leap that's going to be going to like multi gigabytes per second on a frequency scale. That jump from 4G to 5G is the difference of going from a range of, like you had said, 1 to 6 gigahertz to a range of like 24 to 40, 60, even 90 is what you were saying, gigahertz, right?
The frequencies can go up to 95 gigahertz.
Wow, that's crazy. And so this is going to enable, these higher frequencies are going to enable much smaller antennas that work together in this sort of phased array that's concentrating energy in this very narrow but high energy beams. And that's what people are saying is the danger of it. And, it's going to allow, much faster and larger amounts of data to provide infrastructure. But it's not just for smartphones and smart homes. I mean, it's going to touch on every industry, like you were saying. I mean, we're talking transportation, healthcare, agriculture, finance. I mean, we're not just talking smart homes and cars, we're talking smart farms, smart factories, smart construction sites, smart transportation systems. I mean,
everything will be running off this.
And we're not even talking and mentioning artificial intelligence and weapons applications, weapon system applications. And we're talking about tens of trillions of dollars of economic opportunity, and it's all going to be connected to this 5G network. And also, it's definitely going to affect the jobs market. I mean, if you think about how all of these areas are going to be transferred from, the way we do business now in these arenas to them all being operated, through artificial intelligence and things like that.
Yeah, well, so look, when I went to China last time, I was actually in Wuhan about 5 years ago. And in Wuhan, most of the factories there are robotic operated. The workers have generally been cut from there. So you take this 5G with the speed, those robots are working 10 times faster, they're churning out 10 times more product. And this is already happening through China. So it doesn't surprise me that they've pushed the percentage of 5G, well, what is it, 40%? Of the world's 5G usage?
Yeah, they control 40% of the world market on the 5G infrastructure. And that may not sound like a lot, but actually they are by far the world leader in 5G infrastructure. So they're definitely dominating in that area. And that is the future of the world's economy, which is a little scary to think about. And we're going to get into that, the geopolitics of 5G in a little bit. But I kind of wanted to talk about the health aspects of it first, because I know that actually affects everybody, and that's what is on everybody's mind about this, and they're worried about it. So I kind of wanted to talk about that. Are we ready to hop into that part?
Yeah, bro.
All right.
Oh.
So this quantum leap in 5G technology is going to come at a big price. I mean, we're talking about the health of every human being exposed to electromagnetic frequencies. So there are a lot of effects on our health, actually, and 5G was never pre-market tested, despite the fact that we have tons of peer-reviewed studies on the effects of EMFs on humans. And the list of possible effects is long. Are you ready for this? It's pretty crazy. So cancer, DNA damage, reproductive organ damage, skin damage, heart damage, diabetes, kidney damage, learning problems, memory problems, behavioral problems, neurological disorders, headaches, and compromised immune systems, leading to other infections.
You forgot cancer.
I did say cancer. That was the first one.
What was that? Sorry, I missed it.
That's all right. Oh, it's not funny, but I guess we have to try to find humor in these crazy discussions where we can. Anyways, one other thing I wanted to mention, though, is that oxygen absorbs frequencies at the 60 gigahertz range. So it can possibly affect oxygen absorption in the body at that level. And even the oxygen that we breathe will be saturated with radiation at that frequency. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Well, let's go into so how they give diabetes to rats, which I only recently found out, which is extremely interesting to me, is they expose it to EMF, electromagnetic field radiation, at 2.4 gigahertz. Now that's just what we have now at 4G, and that's for rats. And it's not even, they don't even expose them for long. Yes, we're bigger creatures, but looking at that in comparison with 95 gigahertz, what's that going to do to a human? It's a good question.
There is a huge library of peer-reviewed scientific studies and research to support the fact that these higher level frequencies cause significant damage to the human body and brain. That's indisputable. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of doctors and scientists around the world have called for a moratorium on 5G, sending their request to the President of the United States, to the EU. I mean, 253 scientists have sent an appeal to the UN about this. I'm going to read some quotes from a few scientists in that appeal. One scientist wrote, "This is a planned world being created by technocrats totally ignorant of the reality of our biology." And then another scientist wrote, "The harmful effects of electromagnetic fields are now scientifically settled. Pregnant women, children, and adolescents are particularly vulnerable. Even the World Health Organization has recognized the possible carcinogenic effects of electromagnetic fields." And there's one more I wanted to read. This scientist wrote, "There is no question that EMF emissions have a causative effect on the brain and reproductive organs, but no action has been taken despite our awareness of the harmful impact of electromagnetic pollution due to political interference." And I want to talk about that political interference for a second. So the industry has been influencing the regulatory sector for years on this, with this revolving door between big tech lobby and the regulatory bodies like the FCC. And the big tech lobby has been financing a lot of these scientific studies on this to produce, favorable outcomes for them. And here's an illustration. A study out of the University of Washington showed this huge discrepancy between industry-funded studies and non-industry funded studies. Check this out. 70% of the non-industry funded studies found EMF exposure to be harmful to humans, while on the flip side, 68% of the industry-funded studies found just the opposite, to have no effect on humans. So that tells you that the industry is influencing the science on this in order to persuade organizations like the World Health Organization, the UN, all of these regulatory sort of government agencies like the FCC and all of these places that make these determinations. They're funding the science behind it to show that there's no effects on humans, so that they can proceed with the 5G that they want.
All right. So with big tech's hand in all this, I mean, there's been independent studies generally from corporations and through big tech companies that say that um, wireless network technology is about 35% harmful to humans. Now, this is corporation studies. Now, independent studies tell you something completely different. It tells you that there's 75% risk. Now, of course, that is completely politically spewed. It all comes down to money.
Definitely. It all comes down to money. And you really have to look at who's financing what studies in order to know if it's trustworthy or not. I mean, I would definitely take the independent studies over the industry funded studies for sure on this. And if you want to get into the politics of it, maybe this is a good segue into 5G and the whole geopolitical side of things, because everybody is really focused on the health side, and I understand that, but there's a whole geopolitical side of this that needs to be discussed because it's huge. If 5G is as dangerous as we believe it is,
Or could be.
or could be, we really need more studies on it. Why then is the Trump administration making this an initiative? You really have to look at this from a geopolitical perspective. I mean, we're entering into this new era of global tension and competition. China is the biggest threat to the US and the world right now because they want to be the next world power through economic and technological supremacy. And they've pledged to replace the US as the economic superpower by 2025, and they're attempting to use 5G to do it. What do you think?
100%. We know this.
Yeah. So they're willing to use any means necessary to get to that goal. I mean, we're including industrial espionage, theft of technology, corruption. I mean, you name it. We've seen that with, all of these scientists, how they've infiltrated academia. You've seen a lot of indictments coming down the pipe over the past year or so. I mean, we're really going after this hard, and it's because of China's infiltration in these areas. But in particular, with regards to 5G, we know that's happening, right?
Yeah, but also you got to look at tech security. You got to look at hacking. If China can get these 5G things up and running before anyone else, that gives them a huge leeway on corporate hacking and espionage, like you just said.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, China understands that 5G is going to be the foundation that the world economy will be built on. And we already spoke about this, but it's going to be touching on every industry, from transportation to healthcare to agriculture to finance, but also technological advances in robotics, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, nanotech, quantum computing, all of these areas. And right now, the US is not leading in the next technological era. China is, and they got the largest share of the global market. We just talked about this by far. And let's just say, for speak in theory for a second here. Let's just say the U.S. and our allies did call a moratorium on 5G. Do you think China would do the same?
No.
No, hell no, they wouldn't.
No, of course not.
They're going to go full steam ahead, and they're out for world dominance. That's the problem. And we know that China's Huawei has built backdoors in all of their devices for mass surveillance and data collection.
Also, look at TikTok.
Exactly. Yeah, TikTok's a perfect example of what the same sort of scenario, of data collection and surveillance that China is doing through Huawei with their 5G infrastructure. And we can't have a secure 5G infrastructure with Chinese tech. That's just bottom line. And that's why we've banned Huawei 5G in the US. We've even indicted Huawei on RICO charges for working with North Korea and Iran, like surpassing the sanctions. And the UK just banned Huawei this week, and they're phasing out all of Huawei's 5G towers that they've currently have installed. And I think that phase out is going to take till 2027 or something. But Australia's banned it too, haven't they?
I'm not sure if they've completely banned it. but there has been a lot of talk and stuff about Huawei here as well. I think a lot of the Western allies in that sense are waking up to this.
Yeah, I think that the US has put pressure on Five Eyes and basically just said, if we're going to have an alliance, you can't have Huawei tech, you can't have Chinese tech, because there's
Mm.
no way that that's secure. So there's no way we can have an alliance and share um, information, share intelligence with you if it's not secure, which makes total sense to me. And I can see why our allies are kind of in lockstep on this. I think India might be doing the same thing too soon. As you mentioned, TikTok. India banned TikTok recently over those same concerns of security and surveillance. So, and there's a lot of tension going on between China and India as of lately. So I imagine that they'll probably be doing the same too, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I mean, India is actually the forefront at the moment at cracking down on China, but they're because they're so close to China too. So it doesn't surprise me that they are leading the front, and then America after them. But China's really going hard on India's really going hard on China at the moment.
Well, they should be. They have reason to be worried because China is definitely showing some brute force lately with India, and I think that I would be concerned too with the security aspect of things with regards to any Chinese tech within that country. Um, but this is the reason for the Trump administration's 5G initiative. There's basically an arms race going on right now to see who will be the next economic and technological superpower, and it rests on the back of this 5G infrastructure, does it not?
Hmm. I think it does. I can't see any other reason why they're trying to roll this out so fast. I mean, of course, corporations are going to have their hand in the pie too.
Right. I mean,
Um,
big tech is behind all of it, and corporations as well. So I don't know that there's there may be some slowing down. I hope. I think that the U.S. is definitely going to be more careful about it. It's definitely a good move, smart move to get China out, tech out. But I don't see us turning back at this point.
I
I
don't.
don't.
I don't think you can. I mean, the future's going to happen, and like, I think we're going to do this in the next podcast, which is AI. Um, the future's going to happen whether you like it or not.
If,
It's a little bit of a black pill, but the future's going to happen whether you like it or not. It's just how do we protect ourselves the best we can as individuals on that.
yes, exactly. I think that really, as individuals, we just need to be smart about what is happening around us, the choices that are being made that are kind of beyond our control. We do have certain control within our cities and our towns and our homes. If you see a 5G tower, going up in your neighborhood, you can speak out about it. And the louder the voice you have, the more people you have to back you, they'll listen to you. But some
I mean,
people.
we have seen some people go a little bit further than that and have been starting to burn down 5G towers.
Right. And I think that's the next thing that we need to get into. But I did want to speak kind of on a practical level of what people can do, because I've heard, seen some comments from people on Twitter and so forth that they have spoken out to their local governments, just arguing that there should not be a 5G tower put in their neighborhood or near their home. And local governments have listened on occasion. But there's other instances where it's like, no, people have made a choice to move. And if that is something that really does truly concern you, that may be something, to consider, because obviously cities are going to be the first to really be affected by this 5G infrastructure. And the further you go outside of the cities, probably lesser so. So making those choices for yourself, but just being aware of it, and even just with the technology that you keep close to your body, your computer, your phone, your screen time that you have with regards to Wi-Fi. And the more that you can use cables, the more that you can use, The
Yeah, you read my mind. Fiber optics will be the safest way for anyone to run from home PCs or whatever. So like that's why I don't know why they're generally not running out. I mean, some countries are, but fiber optics is your best bet, and you're the safest way to keep you away from like this sort of radiation.
Exactly. And, so there's ways of protecting yourself that way. And, as for parents, just limiting screen time for their kids and getting these Wi-Fi devices away from their kids for, a certain amount of time, especially when they're sleeping and when you're sleeping, because it really does affect your sleep. So the more you can keep those Wi-Fi devices further away from you while you're sleeping, that could help you with that. So there are some practical things that you can do as an individual to protect yourself, and there are certain things that you can do on your local level to try to affect your community. But when we're talking, globally or nationally, I don't know that there is much going back from this 5G initiative.
No, I don't think so. So let's move on to 5G conspiracy theories because there's a few of them, and let's just discuss between ourselves what we think of these conspiracies. There's a lot of people out there that have different opinions on this, and we might have different opinions than you, and that's okay. But we're just going to discuss what we think generally um, uh, of the chances of these conspiracy theories being right. Or so, Ed, which one do you want to start with first?
Well, this year, obviously, with the coronavirus and
That's
with
the
the
big one.
the vaccine and the chips being put in the vaccines and all this, starting to roll out. That whole 5G thing got wrapped into this discussion, and after looking into it, I understand now why. And there is some validity to it, but I think you kind of have to break it down and say, okay, this seems plausible, maybe this part doesn't, and so on. But there are some truths to it, so I think we should kind of break it down because there's some parts that I believe are true and some that I'm like, meh, you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel exactly the same way. So the biggest one going around at the moment is that 5G has caused coronavirus, or that coronavirus isn't real, and it's just the effects of cell deterioration, I think, because of these radiation waves. Now, I don't believe that. That's just me on a straight front. I believe this virus is very real because we've looked into this virus. We believe that it started from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and it was leaked from there. So I don't think on a global scale that 5G is causing these this so-called virus in people. Um, and
Okay, pause
we
that for just one
pause
second
that.
because yeah, I want to interject what some people
Okay,
have argued, and then we'll talk about that. So
sure.
yes, Wuhan does have a lot of 5G towers, and I can't remember. I think I looked into this, but I'm not 100%. Was that kind of like an origin or a ground zero for their 5G rollout?
I,
I do
I
know.
yeah, I think they rolled out more 5G than any other place in China. So
Okay.
that kind of,
So
yeah.
that's true. Okay. And as we've just gone through with the health effects, there are legitimate health effects that are similar to the symptoms of coronavirus. So it can affect your immune system and lower your immune system and allow you to get other infections. It can cause swelling. It can cause, possibly cause at the higher levels, at that 60 gigahertz frequency, it can affect your oxygen absorption. All of that seems to be true. And so I can see how the symptoms of coronavirus could very much be similar to the symptoms of radiation exposure at higher frequencies in
Yeah.
areas that were saturated with that. for
Yeah. Well,
example, in Wuhan. So that makes sense to me, but I don't conflate that as one is the other. There is no such thing as coronavirus. That's where I don't agree, is that I think coronavirus is real. And I think that actually 5G radiation and those higher frequencies could actually even amplify any sicknesses, probably. Wouldn't you think? If it's
yeah.
lowering your immune system, it could make you, feel sicker or get worse if you already had an infection, right? Don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a reasonable analysis.
Okay, so let's move on. What else you got?
Well, another reason why I don't think that is the case. I mean, 5G's been around longer than the virus has, for starters. And certain countries like Iran that got hit really, really hard with coronavirus have no 5G towers. So it doesn't make sense to me. Um, the other one which interested me was the connection between nanotech, vaccines, and 5G.
Right.
That's yeah, that was the one that I went into, once again, dubious. I'm skeptical by nature. Um, I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't. Um, but what the theory is here, that people are using the vaccines for coronavirus to inject nanotech into humans, and from that, for government or cabal to control humans by 5G network and all that in sync. Um, I think there's parts of this which is plausible, and I
I
think
do
you feel
too,
the same.
actually. I looked into this. It seems far out there, but they've actually been putting, from what I understand, putting nanotech or nanoparticles in vaccines for some time now, and that's just a thing. And what they do is it's like little tiny gold particles that have like peptides or whatever kind of whatever they're trying to deliver to the system. These gold nanoparticles are the delivering system, and they may actually be using this in the COVID vaccine. And because there are several different, I'd say, laboratories working on a coronavirus vaccine currently, but from what I understand, some of them do have these nanoparticles delivering as a delivering system. So that to me is true, that is a possibility. We also know that they're looking at putting some sort of chip in the vaccine. I think, with Bill Gates working with the Gavi Alliance and with Trust Stamp and with MasterCard on this coronavirus vaccine for West Africa. I mean, that's rolling out pretty soon here, I think, right?
Mm.
So you can see that playing out, and that's definitely a possibility. I can imagine that if it was the cabal's plan to release a pandemic, all for the purpose of then creating a vaccine that would then microchip people and have nanoparticles in it. Those nanoparticles can be, I was looking this up, they are affected by frequencies, by electromagnetic frequencies. So I guess in theory, it's possible that 5G electromagnetic frequencies at a certain frequency could induce some sort of reaction in these nanoparticles that have been injected.
The, the 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 thing I find hard to believe about this is the technology scale. I don't think we're there. Um, would these people do these things? 100%. I don't put it past them. I mean, these people are malicious in every sense of the word. They want to control the world. They want to control population. Um, I just don't think on technological front that we're there yet to implement something like that. Not even for them. I just think it is way too advanced for 2020.
Right. Well, see, here's the deal, though. And from what I understand with these nanoparticles, and the nanotech, they can just rest dormant in the system until let's say, 5G or AI or whatever is developed. So maybe that's part of the reason why this major push for 5G is being rolled out, is that once the 5G infrastructure is rolled out, then the AI, has the infrastructure to catch up. And, it's just like a snowball effect. And pretty soon, then they do have the technology to do their nefarious deeds, whatever those are, whether it's, controlling people in some way or surveilling people, whatever it is. That once that infrastructure is there and we're already injected with the vaccine, then in theory basically all of the elements are there, and then the tech can catch up and pretty soon roll that out. Does that make sense? What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, I followed it along. Um,
I mean, so
yeah,
this is all in theory. I'm assuming that this is a possibility. I'm not
mm,
discrediting this theory. I
mm,
don't. I'm not saying this is the reality. I'm just saying, yeah, I can see it as a plausibility.
definitely. It's definitely something that you have to think on and that you have to kind of work through. Um, but no, I definitely see it as a possibility too. But whether that's happening or not now, I'm a little bit skeptical on that front. So let's roll out to the 5G towers being some sort of light weapon.
Yeah. Well, I think that I don't know a whole lot about this. There may be some 5G towers. If they were made by Huawei, wouldn't put it past them. I mean, we know that they've built backdoors in all of their tech, and we know that they've used that for surveillance and for data collection. It's possible that some of this Chinese tech could be used as weapons. But we did see one video which was pretty compelling, where it was kind of debunked, where someone had taken apart a lamp, a street lamp that was supposedly run on 5G, and it's not. So do you want to talk about that one?
Oh, well, that was just pretty funny because some of the things he was saying, like there's scanners in them, there's this sort of light mechanism in them. It was pretty much all full of shit. They were just common parts that you find in most of these wireless network things. So I just generally don't believe that on the light weapon scale, because once again, technology is not there for their sort of laser weapons.
Right.
I'm completely against that in using it that sort of a way, as
Yeah.
that sort of a weapon.
Yeah. So I would say that for me, I'm skeptical too, and that
You're just a general
I
fence sitter, aren't you? Look at you.
I'm
Pick a side.
skeptical. I'm skeptical when people are making their home videos of the 5G stuff. So I have to use discernment, and I just suggest that everybody do the same. I'm not going to tell you this guy's lying, this guy's not. Use your own discernment and do your research, because there is a lot of true information that is legitimate, that is like highly concerning, that we really do need to focus on. And then there's some misinformation, or some people that just really don't know really a lot about what they're talking about. So,
Mm.
and then it can cause a lot of people to really freak out, like we saw those towers burning down. I get the outrage. I understand where it comes from, but I don't know that I agree with that kind of reaction.
Well, that's
I guess
dangerous to
everybody's,
everyone around them.
yeah, exactly. It's just more danger, adding more danger to the mix. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like 100%, because if there is these things in these towers and in these boxes that you don't know and that people are skeptical about, burning them down is just not going to be a smart choice. I mean, who knows what sort of effect it could have with this sort of attack that they have in them.
Right. And then if the UK is already making, because I think a lot of this happened in the UK, no? Or was it?
Majority of it was through Britain, yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're already committing to getting rid of the Chinese tech, which I think is the major concern. Um, I get why 5G is a concern in general. We've already gone over that, but you know, just I think the better way to go about it is to, voice your concerns to your local officials and to your national government as well, about the concerns we have about our health, our security, national security, even. So I think that's the best route to go rather than, burning stuff down. That's just my opinion on it.
Yep, I agree. All right.
All right. So, in all, 5G bad. But
5G bad.
5G bad. To wrap, 5G bad. However, it's this evil we're going to have to deal with. I don't think it's going away. And there's smart choices that we as individuals are going to have to make for ourselves and our families, right?
100%.
All right. Keep an eye on this. It's important, and it's something that is going to affect all of us. So definitely keep an eye on it. Leave your comments and let us know what you think on all of these aspects of 5G. We're interested to hear what you guys think. And thanks for listening to us here on HiveMind. Please be sure to share, like, and subscribe. We'll see you back next time right here on HiveMind.
Stay ravenous. Nice.